Hey, what's going on? Using my story. Once again, it's me, your boy Samuel. We have another great podcast for you today. We have somebody who took some time out of her day, did a long drive on these wonderful LA traffic freeways we have, and just taking time out of her day to share her story. So go ahead and take a second and introduce yourself.
My name is Jessy, and I'm from Agora Hills, California.
Agora Hills.
Mm-hmm.
So Jessy, we were talking a little bit before we started this podcast and just giving the foundation of what using my story is. My own, share a little bit of my recovery, and you're sharing a little bit of yours. So we're going to jump into where you were.
Okay.
And then we're going to hang out in the middle a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to go to the end of where you are now.
Okay.
And how that's success and all these great things that are happening in your life and your support systems and everything else. So let's talk about it. So Agora Hills, is that where you were raised?
Yeah, so I moved around a lot when I was a kid.
Okay.
I was born in LA, West Hollywood area.
Okay.
My parents divorced, and then my mom, my sister, and we moved to New York. We lived there for a year.
Wow.
And we moved to Ohio in a really small town, one church, one market, very sheltered, but it was a good upbringing, and I lived there till I was in about 4th grade. And then I moved back to California to Agora, and we lived there ever since.
So that's a heck of a jump.
Yeah.
That's big city living.
Yeah.
Small country living.
I know. I was listening to all country music and stuff.
Do you still listen to country music?
No.
Why do you say it like that?
I don't know. A lot of my friends do, and they're like, "You should listen to country again." I'm like, I had that time. I remember coming here and people had rap on, and I was like, "What is this rappy music?" But and then I got into it. But now I listen to more house now and EDM
okay.
stuff.
I remember house back in the day.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. You ever hear that joke about country music if you play it backwards?
I feel like I probably have.
Where it says your dog comes back to life, your truck starts up, and your wife comes back home. You never heard that?
But that's funny.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
So, in that time frame, so you only have one sibling, sister.
Yeah, so I have a stepsister too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My dad remarried about 20 years ago.
And how was that dynamic for you when you were growing up, being separated from your dad?
It was hard. So my dad and my mom are very different. My dad's Persian and he's not a typical conservative Persian, but he's still a little bit more conservative than your average American. And then my mom's the hippie from New York. She went to design school for clothing.
Totally opposites.
Complete opposite. She's German, French, Russian. So it's I'm a mutt, between the two of them. And I got to see my dad in the summers, but it still wasn't enough, but he came back into my life full term once we moved back.
Yeah.
So
in that time frame you really weren't seeing him?
Yeah, he would come for holidays and I'd see him in the summers. But
that's cool.
But yeah.
I mean, something.
Yeah,
right.
He wasn't an absent father. He tried to be there as much as he could.
That's awesome. So in your early childhood, moving around, parents divorced, went from here to New York to Ohio, back here.
Yeah.
So when you moved back here, how old were you?
I was going into 5th grade.
So into 5th grade, family dynamic was still good?
Still good, yeah. My parents get along,
Civil?
Yeah. More than civil, they're friends. And I feel
That's cool.
Sadly, in my addiction, it brought them even closer, because they were, able to, console each other and stuff through that. You know?
So when you were growing up from 5th grade, from here, you never moved back anywhere else? You've been just home?
Well, yeah, home. But then once I started getting into my addiction, I moved from home. But
okay. So when would you say that started?
So when I was in high school, I started to just something traumatic happened. I didn't have any for a long time. I had a lot of guilt. I'm I don't deserve to say I'm an addict and I had all this bad stuff happen to me, because I didn't have any sexual trauma happen to me. I didn't have any physical abuse, I'm what's my excuse? My parents divorced, boo-hoo. A lot of people's parents divorce, and you don't turn into a junkie.
Yeah.
And then I'm well, I moved around a lot. It was hard for me to establish roots. I was very shy and introverted as a child. It was hard for me to make friends every time I moved. So for a while, I harbored this guilt, oh, why did I turn out the way I did, And through some therapy and self-reflection, I realized so when I was in 9th grade, my grandfather, my mom's side, was my Nana had passed away like a year before, right? And so then he came to live with my mom, sister, and I. And on Christmas Eve, he passed away like in our house from a heart attack, like on our way to like church. And I was like there for the whole thing. I tried to like revive him with my mom. It was very traumatic, you know.
Yeah.
And I realized, like looking back, that was like when I started to want to experiment with drugs and alcohol. After that, it started off with just weed, and I hated it.
Yeah.
Every time I did it, I hated it. And I was like, why do I do this? And I continued to do it.
You're like smoking, like, I really hate you.
No, seriously, I'd be like, this is terrible. Like, because I would get super weird and paranoid and like overanalyze everything. And I didn't like it, but I would continue to do it. So like, I'm like, okay, that's truly addict behavior. Like I couldn't stop myself. And then it progressed to like alcohol. So this was like 15, like freshman, sophomore year. And then it moved on to like ecstasy. I started going to raves like out in San Bernardino. And it's just, I did that for a while. And then my mom like found out and like grounded me for life. And, you know, like.
Locked you in like.
Yeah. She found out like a lot of stuff. You know, my ex-boyfriend like had left a photo album of like pictures of us all at raves and pacifiers in her mouth. There was like, pictures of me like kissing girls and like there was like sex pictures of him and I, and it showed like that I had a tattoo and like piercings. Like it was just like it showed this like other life that I was living that my parents had no idea about, you know?
Yeah.
Because while doing all that, I was still able to like get like straight A's and like do well in school.
You were maintaining.
Yes, I had like this other persona. So after they saw like there was something going on, you know, she grounded me and I tried to straighten up, but you know, I stopped going to raves. But
so how long did she ground you?
I don't know. It was supposed to be for forever, but it only lasted probably like a couple months. I don't know.
She was like, okay, you're free now.
Yeah.
So when your mom found that photo album, right? And then obviously shared that information with your father, what did that look like for you? Because I have to believe, because I was young as well, right? So a long time ago, but some type of shame.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Resentment, guilt, like, okay, well, you thought I was like this really great kid.
Yeah.
And really, potentially we are great kids. We're just out there running amok, trying to figure out what's what. What did that look like for you after that, without like the punishment aspect of it? What did that look like for your relationship with your parents?
If I remember right, like my dad like kind of was like, I can't even look at you, you know? And growing up, like all I wanted was my dad's approval, you know? Like, it was hard to like measure up to like his friends, like their kids or like some of my cousins, like very successful, like they were all going to school to be like doctors, and he's always, it's like a Persian joke, like you must be like a doctor, a lawyer, or a pharmacist. Like and I didn't want to do any of that, you know. I am an artist like my mom. Like I wanted to do something artistic. I wanted to go to art school, so it was already challenging for me to like feel like I was good enough in my dad's eyes, so that just made me feel like even worse. I'm like, I'm really failed, you know. But you know, over time, like things got better, and I mean, not with me, with drugs, but like with them, like just like I stopped going to raves and like kind of tightened up my circle of friends, and you know, just got through school, got through high school. For as far as like drug use, like during the rest of my high school, it pretty much just like progressed to coke and like drinking. It wasn't like anything crazy yet.
I
mean, that's still crazy to some people, but like to me, that was
other
like
people who have like been out there. You're like, I just looked at the coke and some
coke.
alcohol, it's whatever. You know, nothing crazy. Like, some people are probably watching this video. They're gonna be like, "What do you mean that's not crazy, bro?
That's not normal.
That's not normal at all." So in high school, progressed. Final thing in high school was coke and alcohol. That's where you ended up in high school. You graduated?
Yeah, I did.
And then after high school, what did that look like for you? Did you go to college?
So I was applying to different universities, and I really wanted to go to art school. It's a design school called Parsons in New York. It's where my mom went. But my dad was like, no, you must stay close. Like, go to like a school out here. So I ended up getting accepted into CSUN. And Parsons, but I didn't go to Parsons, and that was like a huge resentment, like that I held for a long time. But so I ended up going to CSUN, which I hated. I didn't like being in the Valley, you know. It was a big commuter school. Like I wanted to like have that like college experience where you go and stay in a dorm, and like I didn't have that, I just would drive to Northridge, for my classes and drive back home.
Okay. So when you were in college,
Mm-hmm.
did your addiction progress immediately or did that take time?
It's weird. Like that has always been like a blank spot in my memory. I don't really know how it went from what it did to the next. So, cause like I remember just doing like, Coke and alcohol, but then somehow in the mix, like Roxy's got introduced, and I started like smoking them off foil, like when everyone was doing that, like getting like the Oxy 80s when they were still around. And, I don't know, like why did I jump from that to that, And like, it's still like a blank spot in my memory. I don't want to blame an ex-boyfriend, but I feel like it was
It's his fault.
It's your fault. You know who you are.
It's your fault. You heard it here.
Yeah. No, I'd fully take accountability. It's, I'm aware of like what I'm doing, but I do remember getting a dirty doctor. He no longer has his license, but he would prescribe me like 300 Roxys a month. He would give me Somas, Valium, Xanax, Adderall, and weirdly enough, Suboxone too, because like that does not make sense.
Yeah, that's a wild cocktail.
Yeah, so I would get like that. So I could like distribute some to my friends, make some like money back. The insurance would pay. It was like pretty much like a great deal. Like I was staying like loaded all the time off that, And then what ended up happening was I had the opportunity to go study abroad for a month. So I didn't really know like what opiate like addiction was. Like I didn't know about detoxing or anything like that. So I flew to Rome to do this like 1 month in Rome. And I left like all the pills behind because I was like, I think I'm starting to like have an issue and like I should just stop right now, And I remember getting to Rome and like having to do orientation and like being in this foreign country and like no one speaks English, and I'm like trying to like navigate like what to do. And I have like these roommates who I've never met before, and I'm just feeling like shit. Like I'm just like, oh my God. Like, so I just remember getting drunk, trying to like feel better. And I feel like it made it worse. I don't know. But,
so you're detoxing yourself in Rome.
Yes, without meaning to, without knowing. And then I became like desperate, right? I'm like trying to like look on the internet, like where can I find like, and I wasn't into like heroin or anything at that time. So I'm like, where can I find like Oxys or Roxys? And then I was like reading that they have like codeine that you can get. And I like tried to go to the hospital and get codeine. And then I tried to smoke it off foil. It was like a whole mess.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was I was dating this guy like long distance in Canada at the time. Like a whole nother story. And so
tune in next week.
I flew back and forth from Rome to Canada 3 times that month.
Oh, wow.
On like the weekends and to see him. Yeah. But now looking back, it was like probably fueled more by like the fact that I was getting the Oxy 80s when I got there too.
Yeah.
So I would like get better for a little bit and then have to go through the detox all over again. It was a mess.
You're ping ponging the detox.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I really started to see like the unmanageableness like of my life during that, time.
So then when you were finished with Rome that month and you came back home, what did that look like? Did you continue to fly to Canada?
No, we broke up. So like while I was, at that time I started to do like stuff that I'm not proud of to make money. Like I was like working underground poker games, which led to like escorting, and this guy like found out about that and he didn't know. And it was like one of my more selfless moments because like, he was like, oh, you know what? It's okay. I'll stay together with you. Let's work it out. And I was like, and I knew in my heart, I'm like, I'm just going to end up hurting this dude, know? And I was like, no, you're better off without me. Yeah. So, we didn't stay together and, ended up coming back home and just continuing doing what I was doing. I was still going to CSUN and, doing my oxys and then I started doing meth. And
started to meth around.
Yeah, started to meth around.
Yeah. So you were doing all this, right? Studying abroad, coming back.
Yeah.
Underground poker games, doing other things. Now, my question is, your parents totally unaware of what's going on?
Yeah, so at the time, my mom was she was a clothing designer for like big corporate companies and like she ended up having to move to like wherever they're located, right? So she moved to Connecticut at the time. And she like left the house like for my sister and I to live in. So we like had this big empty house. Like she took all her furniture.
Oh, wow.
it was like the party house.
Yeah.
Like my friends would come over and
Yeah.
DJ and like,
Oh, dang.
yeah, like it was fun. But yeah, so I didn't really have that much supervision. Where I mean, like I shouldn't have needed it. I was already like in my early 20s
Yeah.
at this point. But yeah, my dad was kind of just like head in the clouds. Like didn't realize what was.
Everybody's fine.
Yeah. I probably like he just didn't want to face that there was something going
Maybe.
on, you know, and like he did finally like realize it. Like we went on a trip to Mexico. And it was kind of like the same thing. Like I left like the pills behind and I just like slept like pretty much the whole trip. You know, I couldn't get up early. Like he was like, "What's wrong with you? You know, like there's something wrong. You're not my daughter." And I don't remember if I told them or how it came out, but like they realized like I had a problem, and that's when I like went to rehab for the first time. That was 2009.
So while you're going through all this, your sister was just like, "What's going on with you?" Is it your little sister?
Yeah, she's 2 years younger.
Okay.
It's really funny because she, when I was like doing okay for the most part, like in my coke and alcohol stage of high school.
The light days.
Yeah, the light days. She was like getting in trouble and like just like in a totally different phase. Like she's the complete opposite now. It's so funny because she was like a goth and like just like doing like, you know, drugs and stuff. And now she's like total like hippie, like granola girl. Like I love how she is now.
Girl.
Yeah.
I've never heard that
Yeah,
before.
just like she like lives off the land pretty much.
Oh, nice.
Like very natural beauty, you know, like so it's really cool to see how much she's like transformed and changed, you know. So we like kind of switched roles. So I feel like she had some resentment, you know, for a while because she saw like what I was like putting our parents through, you know, and like so growing up, like, you know, our relationship became like estranged, I guess you'd say, and then but things are better now.
Good.
Yeah.
So 2009 treatment.
Yes.
You complete?
I did. It was like one of the only times I ever did.
Did you go all levels of care?
No, I did. I did 30 days. I thought I was cured.
You're like, I'm good. I stayed my 30.
Yes.
Today's my 30th day.
Yeah.
I'm healed.
And I didn't want to be there, you know, like I wanted to make my parents happy. That was like why I went to treatment most of the time. Cause you know, like they were still to this day, like my best friends. Like I just wanted them to like have peace of mind, you know, and, but I wasn't taking it seriously. I mean, I was just like, and I remember like hearing people talk about heroin in there and I was like, I'm not like them. And that kind of sounds better than what I was doing though.
Junkies, what's wrong with these people? So, you know, it's funny because you said something, and it's something that I say a lot, especially working in this field, is I tell people, if you don't want to be here,
don't be.
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
You have to be at your lowest point and understand I have a problem and I haven't identified everything yet, but I want to work on it.
Yeah.
If you have something, just even a little bit of that, we can work with it. Because you could be when I went to rehab one time, it was a Medi-Cal place, and it was, I was in a trailer in Cabazon.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy. And 12 other people in this trailer with me.
No.
Sleeping bag, whole nine. But everybody there is still sober.
Yeah.
Today.
Oh, it worked.
It worked.
Because they wanted it.
Because they wanted it.
Yeah.
Now, I know of other treatment centers, you know, nice places.
Yeah. Bougie places.
Mini mansions.
Yeah.
Private chefs. And people go there and they leave and it's an automatic relapse. And they're like, why? We have everything. Yeah, you have everything, but they don't have it yet.
Yeah.
The light's not even dim. It's just completely off.
Yes.
So they're not even open to it yet.
Yes.
So I say all the time, you could be in the most expensive place with the best things to offer you, the best therapist, the best doctor, the best case manager, the best groups, everything. But if you're not ready, you're not ready.
No. Yeah. You'll find a reason to leave. That was my story. Like at all these places, I went to like the nicest spots, you know, and with this one in particular, like, yeah, I just wasn't taking it seriously. I ended up like relapsing like right when I got out, like, but on alcohol. So I thought I was like fine. And it was actually with a tech, which was what was messed up. Like, poor guy got fired. I mean, not poor guy. I mean, he should have known better, but
We should know better.
Yeah.
We're there to help people, not take people out for drinks. It's like, oh, you're suffering with alcohol and cocaine. Are you done with your 30 days? Yeah, let's go grab a drink.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Bro, what?
Yeah, so, and I was just, you know, that one drink like turned into me like using again, you know, and I ended up going to visit my mom like right after that treatment, and she in Connecticut, and I don't know what came over me, but I was just, well, I guess because I had started that, the phenomena of craving again,
Yeah.
right?
You woke up the beast.
Yes. We were, I went to Manhattan, like she lived in Connecticut, so I just took the train to Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
Met a friend out there that I'd met in Rome. This girl, I'm not gonna mention names, but this girl out there. It was like her birthday party or a friend's birthday. We were on like a party bus and everyone's drinking. And then I remember just like getting this like thought come over me. I'm like, I don't want to just drink. Like I need like drugs. And so I like went on Craigslist to try to find some people out there selling like oxys. And I found these two guys. But then I like met up with them and I'm like, I don't want oxys. I want to try heroin. I kept hearing about how good it was in treatment. Like fuck that. If I'm gonna like do this, I'm gonna go all out, you know? And ended up they're like looked at me like, we don't do that. Sorry. like it's so much different.
That is way below what we offer here.
So I ended up just like leaving them, like just like walking around the streets of like Manhattan, like looking. I think I ended up in like Brooklyn, like
Oh dang.
yeah, like not the best like areas. And I remember just like trying to like find someone, and then there was like this like fake cab driver guy driving around. You know what I'm talking about? They're not really cabs, but they like advertise, like you pay them like out of pocket.
Oh really?
Yeah. So it was one of those. He's like, I know where to get it, you know? And he like took me to some street where they were selling it. And then he like took me to Walgreens to get needles, and then got us a hotel room because I think he thought he was going to get some from me, but that was not my plan. I just needed to get.
You were like, thanks for taking me where I needed to go, buddy. This is my drop off.
Yes. But he came up in the room and I remember like Googling like how to shoot up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that's my first experience.
Did you find it on YouTube?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I'm surprised I didn't die. Like,
yeah.
Like China White. Like I had no idea what I was doing, you know, like, but I got super sick. I started like projectile vomiting, like afterwards, just like nonstop, you know, and the guy was like, I'm out of here. I'm like, well, that worked.
You're like, that's all I needed to do. Jesus. I would have threw up when I first walked in the door.
Yeah.
So you did the first experience horrible.
Yeah.
And then you were like still curious.
Yeah, with this,
maybe
like,
I did
with
something
the
wrong.
weed. It was like how it was with the weed. Like I didn't like it. It made me feel sick, and I continued to do it. You know.
And how long did that last?
How long did
your addiction when you started? You started. That was just the beginning of.
Yeah. So when I got back to California, I just went like balls to the wall.
All gas, no brakes.
Yeah. And then I started shooting meth with it too. That was like my thing. Goofballs. You know, like.
Dang, I haven't heard that term in a while. It's been a while.
Yeah. I was in and out of rehab from that point on. Like many, I lost track of how many treatment centers I went to.
Wow.
But like I said, like I went to like the bougie Malibu ones, and like I never stayed. Maybe 2 weeks. I would come and like leave, go get high, come back, and it was like I remember that feeling, like wanting to want it. Like I wanted to want sobriety, but I didn't want it.
Yeah.
You know, and
you're like, I know I need it, and I want to be that way.
Yeah.
But I still want to do this.
Yeah, it was such a frustrating feeling, and then like just being like waking up and having to like fight this battle of like the obsession every day. Like that's why like I strongly believe in like a higher power, because I remember how that felt, and to have that lifted now is just like a miracle, you know.
That's like one thing that we've shared, where it's like there's no feeling greater than waking up and just being like, I'm in my own spot.
Yeah.
I can go wherever I want, and I can do whatever I want.
Yeah,
and I don't need to wake up to go chase something today.
Yeah.
And I don't need to wonder how I'm going to make it through the day without picking up.
Yeah.
And it's a constant decision, right? It's a daily decision. Like, I'm not going to do it, because no matter what, the addiction mentality still remains, right? So for me, it's like being grateful and being humble to be given an opportunity to be able to do these types of podcasts and work with the community that we work with. And to me, there's no greater joy than seeing somebody when the light turns on. When the light turns on, you're like, oh, we got him, dude. Like, he's good.
Yeah.
You know, it's like fishing.
Yeah.
Caught the trophy fish, right? And that's like the new high for people who are in recovery. The high is I'm going to help somebody else, and I'm going to give somebody else what I've received.
Yeah, like watching your sponsees like have transformations, and like even just on my way down here, like I got a phone call from a friend that I got into treatment a few months ago, a couple months ago, just like a Medi-Cal place, but he was like desperate, and you know, like I've known him like for years, like, you know, we used to use together and stuff, and part of me thought like he's gonna dip after like the detox, or
Yeah.
he's not gonna be able to make it through the detox, or,
Yeah.
you know, but like the guy's still there, like, and I'm gonna go visit him tomorrow, like,
Nice.
and like hearing his voice, like how much it's changed on
Yeah.
the phone, and like how grateful he was, like it just like made me feel so good and
Yeah.
like fulfilled. It was like such a good feeling. He's like, yeah, I wake up every day at 4:30 and I go to the gym even
Let's go.
before group, you know, like
Come on.
he's like, I got a job lined up, like it was
That's
just
awesome.
like, yeah,
He's on his way.
yes.
So when you started shooting up and you were out here running amok and doing everything that you were doing, goofing out on goofballs, when would you say you hit your rock bottom?
I mean, I hit my rock bottom so many times, you know, in different ways. So like my addiction, like what it looked like for a long time was like, I never like slept like on the street, like got homeless to that point.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the perks of being a woman sometimes. Like you can usually find someone to take you in for the meantime. I'm sure that would have gone like as I got older and stuff. People, nah,
Not today.
you're no good to us. But I would be like couch surfing, and then I, you know, because my parents like did the tough love. They went to like not Al-Anon, but the other one, Nar-Anon.
Okay.
It's like not same thing,
Kinda.
but Narcotics Anonymous family members, I guess.
Yeah.
So they're like, you immediately are like, get out of the house. Like, we're not giving you any money.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because that's what my parents did with us.
Yeah.
Like, you're in addiction. You're not coming here, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
I was like, can I at least get my stuff? Nope. My mom sold half my things. I'm like, and then she like kept a lot of my clothes for herself.
Yeah.
Like to this
She's like,
day,
"Oh,
I'll
this
still
is
like,
nice."
yeah. I'm like, isn't that my shirt? You know? I'm like, yes, it is.
Wow.
But yeah, so I was like, you know, in between places a lot. It's exhausting, you know. I'm sure you know, like to live like that, like living out of cars. I used to live out of the back of U-Hauls. That was like a thing. Like I'd rent like one of the U-Haul vans for like a long period of time, and like I even like took down the middle cage, hung like a curtain. I had like light. I like got it all like
Hooked up.
interior designed, like you know, so it was like cozy. But it was just exhausting living like that. And then in between, like go to treatment. And I think I got like the longest time I had one treatment center. I got like 6 months, and then like another one I'd get like 9 months. But I would always end up relapsing, you know. And I feel like for a long time I was like, well, it's, you know, if I only had like my own place, and if I only had like a car and money, and like I wasn't struggling, I could use successfully and be happy. It's my circumstances that are making me miserable, you know? And then, so in a way, I got my first like rock bottom, like spiritual experience awakening in my addiction, because what ended up happening was like, and this was like probably, let's say 6 years ago, I like found a niche in like niche. How do you say that word? Niche.
Potato.
Yeah. I found it in like a certain, you know, field in the underground criminal world, you know, and I made a lot of money, and I was able to finally, I had an apartment. It was like a 2-bedroom in Marina Del Rey. It was beautiful, like right there on the water. I had a car, I had a Hellcat. It was like, a Challenger Hellcat. I had a puppy. I was with my ex-boyfriend. Like we had enough money to like, we were never sick. I was always shopping. It was like, but that's what my life looked like. I was just like constantly just using, shopping. I never really went to the beach, even though I lived right there. I just stayed in my apartment. It was just like, it was when I finally realized like, okay, I have all the things I said if I had, I would be fine and happy. And I'm still miserable. I'm still not fulfilled. Like I'm still like lacking connection, and like I don't have my family. Like, and that's when I realized like I will never have the life I want, even with all the material stuff, like unless I put the drugs behind me, you know? But for a long time I struggled because part of me really liked that lifestyle. Yeah. You know, right? There's no obligations. There's no responsibilities. Like
no taxes.
No taxes. Like, right? You just like, all you really worrying about is like coming up. I got addicted to like making money, like, and it was hard for me to like step away. I think I got more addicted to the lifestyle towards the end than the drugs themselves. You know, I thought that it was going to be harder for me to let that part go. But then the other part of me, right, was like, I want a family. I want to have kids one day. Like, I want a husband, you know, like I want a job. I remember like driving around the neighborhood and be like 6 a.m. I'm like, haven't slept. I'm like just driving home, and I can see like a couple in like matching jogger suits, like just jogging. And
like, where did you get those?
Yeah, you know, I'm just like, dude, like, I'm like, look at those weirdos. But inside I was just like jealous because I wanted that, you know, like that normalcy, and like, yeah, and I just knew like I wasn't gonna have it. So it was like this battle, like, do I stay in this? But do I want that? Like, it was just like this affliction all the time.
Yeah. So when did you make the decision?
When did I make the decision? I didn't really make the decision. Like what you said happened to you.
Yeah.
The cops made it for me.
The local police department assisted me.
Yes, they did. So we got evicted out of that apartment eventually because those things just don't last, right?
Yeah.
And my ex and I moved back to the San Fernando Valley, and we were living at some like trap house, and that place was gnarly. It was like there would be like maggots on the floor, like, and I would try to clean, but I don't know. Anyways, like all these horrible things happened there. It was like my dog. We had like our dog, which we shouldn't. I mean, she was well taken care of, but like looking back, like that's like my biggest amends to her now is just to give her like a beautiful life because I just feel so bad that she like had to live that lifestyle with us, But I always say she's like a gangster dog. She's been in 2 high-speed chases,
trenches,
like
bro.
she's been in the trenches, like. But so we were living there, and I remember I was like really sick, and I needed rigs. I had this weird thing. I refused to smoke dope. Like I needed to shoot it, right? So. We finally got dope, and I'm like, I'm just gonna drive to Walgreens and get the rigs. And I drove my car, and it was all tinted, like an idiot. I had all my windows tinted, including the front windshield. And I'm like in Arleta, and I had just gotten the rigs, and the cops, like, I see them pull in the parking lot, and I'm like kind of not in a spot, but I was just like parked in the middle of the way, like on my phone ordering like food to pick up on my way home.
Okay.
And I see them, I go, oh my God. So I just like backed into a spot real quick, and then they like pulled up and like parked in front of me, like facing me. We like looked at each other, and they just like turned the lights on, and I'm all, nope. And I just like turned my car on and like drove around them and just like took off. I'm like, I can get away. I have a Hellcat, and I'd gotten away before one time. So I thought like it was going to be super easy. Like it wasn't,
Statistically, you got away once.
And it was different. It was like by the beach, like there was one cop. I've never seen so many cops come out in my life than in Arleta. Like every street I crossed, there was just like another one. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I'm like, it's too late now. What do I do? So I just kept going. And then I pulled down like a dead end. I didn't know where I was. And I like turned around, like almost hit a cop as I like was turning around. Like they were right on my tail. And then like I got away like for a second or so I thought, and I pulled down another dead end. I'm like, fuck this. And I saw like someone's driveway, and like you could pull in, and I'm like, oh, they won't be able to see my car if I pull into their driveway. So I pulled in, and I got out, and I didn't see them. They weren't there yet. But the helicopter, there was a helicopter there.
The eye in the sky.
And I was like, oh. And I had some like evidence of stuff, and I like threw it in like a trash can in front of like these people's house. And so I thought it was like going to be okay. I knew there was other stuff in my car, but because we had moved, so I had I was just riding terribly. Like,
Riding dirty.
Riding dirty, yeah.
Literally.
Yes. And I just remember like walking, and this first cop pulls down. He's like, hey, you stop. And I'm like, what? I didn't do anything. He's like, stop or I'll take you down. I'm like, I'm right here.
You're like, I'm right here, bro.
Yeah. So that I thought was gonna be like the end of my life. I'm like, dude, because I ended up like finding what was in the trash can. The neighbors that I threw it in like had cameras, and they like told on me.
Wow.
So
freaking responsible people.
I know. Good Samaritans.
Dang,
like
good citizens.
Yeah. And it was funny too, because my ex was like a little bit psycho from like, all the meth use and stuff. And he thought I was like with a guy, and like I wasn't picking up my phone. So he just kept blowing up my phone. He had like my location. He just sees it at like some random house.
Yeah.
And finally, like I told one of the cops that had me, I'm like, can you answer that, please? He's going to keep calling. And so he answers it. And like the second he answers it, my ex goes, you fucking bitch. Like just screaming at the cop. And I'm like, he's like, this is Officer so-and-so, like your girlfriend's in custody. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was like, to tell you. Yeah.
You accidentally answer. You're like, I'm going to tase you. Get on the ground. Like, what's going on over there?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So then you got.
Yeah. So I got arrested. He bailed me out. It was during COVID, or the end of COVID. So I'm like, oh, everyone just gets automatically released, And I was like, they were trying to ask me questions, and I just know better. You don't answer, and like, well, if you're not going to answer any questions, we're not going to answer yours. I'm like, I just have one. Like, when am I going to be released because of COVID? They're like, you're not getting released. I'm like, there's like only a few charges that we don't release on, and evading is one of them. I'm like, damn it. So
that one got me.
Yeah. So I got bailed out, and I ended up going back to that house, and at this point now I don't have a car, you know, and I have this thing hanging over my head. It was only like one charge at first, so with the evading, but I knew like when I went back like a couple months later it was gonna be a lot more. So that's when it ended up happening. I went back to court. I had 18 felony charges against me, and I kind of just like started to lose hope. I'm like, I'm gonna go to prison, like, you know, like because I've been in and out of jail a lot, but I never like made it to prison. I usually got like rehab like offers and stuff like that. My dad would get me like an attorney, you know, like that I was undeserving of, but
when we look back at it now,
I mean, he never bailed me out,
but
he would get me the attorney, like.
It's funny because like even like in tough love, right? And I'll share a story with you. I got arrested at the border one time. Funny story. We'll talk about it off air. But I went to jail in San Diego, right? And I was like, nobody knows I'm here, you know. All right, fine. I'm gonna do jail time down here. It's whatever. And then it was a DA reject. So 3 days I was out. And I was like, I have no money, I have no car, I have no phone, I have nothing. Like, how am I gonna get home?
Oh God, it's the worst feeling.
So they're releasing me, and he cuts off my wristband, and he gives me $50, and I'm like, where do I have money from? And he says, he looks at the thing, and he goes, there was a deposit made by so and so, and that was my mom. And I was like,
how'd she know?
How'd she know? One, two, she showed up to court, and three, she stopped at the jail to put money on my books. But she was also the one I was like, you can't come home because you're in your addiction, and I don't need that around me. And I was like, yo, like it literally broke me walking out of the jail. Like, out of all people in the world, it's my mom who said like she's not gonna be there through all this, but she's still here. Like just working in the shadows, like
how
making
did she
sure.
Know?
I don't know. I never found
you
out.
Still don't know.
No, but this is how addiction works, and this is how dumb I was. I stopped. I bought me a pack of cigarettes, bought a 12 pack. I bought me some Chinese food, and then I had like maybe $20 left
to get home. Did you make it home?
I did.
Okay.
Because I went to the Greyhound station, and I went up to the guy with the bus. The bus driver, and I was like, "Hey man, I got no money. I just got out of jail. I'm living in Huntington Park right now. I just need to get home." And he's like, "If you don't cause me any problems, bro, you can get on the bus, and I'll just take you." Nice. And I was like, "All right, bet." So I got on the bus and just slept. Full off of Chinese food and, you know, beer. But it's to think about parents, right? And I don't have my parents anymore. Both of them have gone on. But it's like I think about everything that I put them through, and I'm grateful because not for what I put them through, but because they were there, right? And whether it wasn't to the capacity that me at that point in time was like, I need you to this capacity right now, and you're not there. But if they didn't make the decisions that they made in the way that they made them, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Right.
And it took me a long time to realize that is the tough love and the not answering the phone calls and the not putting money on my books and the not showing up to prison for a visit and not doing all those things. It navigated me subconsciously. It navigated my decision making because it was like, I want to get home. So I'm not going to be participating in certain actions. I'm not going to be doing these things. So I need to get home. I need to see my parents. I need to see my kids. I need to do all these things in my life. But subconsciously, it was just like, again, looking for that validation of my parents of like, he made it and we did good. And my dad, when I had talked to him before he passed, he was just like, I'm sorry that I wasn't the best dad. And I was like, you did the best that you could. And my mom said the same thing, was like, I'm really sorry. And I'm like, look, at the end of the day, you guys did what you were equipped to do. I can't knock you for that. As an adult, I made adult decisions, and the repercussions of my decisions were prison time, parole, all those things that happen. But that doesn't dictate who I'm going to be.
But they passed when you were sober, right?
My mom passed 2 years ago. Okay. And then my dad passed when I was in prison. I was in Delano. No, I was in Wasco. And they came to my door and they told me, I knew he had died. I knew he was dying. But that didn't stop in my addiction. Yeah, he had cirrhosis and he was in recovery as well. So was my mom.
Oh, wow.
So when they came to my door, it was the captain and a chaplain. And I was just like, my dad died. And they're like, yeah. I was like, okay. I knew, like, going in and signing that deal, I knew I wasn't going to be there when he passed.
Yeah, because you knew at the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was just like, but I still have to take this time because like other people, not everything was discovered yet.
Yeah.
So if I signed that deal, everything else was no longer applicable once I signed that deal.
Wow.
So I signed the deal. So long story short, just be grateful. We have to stay in a state of gratefulness, in a state of being humble for people, not resent for the decisions that they made as a parent, because we don't know how they were raised. We don't know the details of their childhood. Maybe they have some deep, dark secrets themselves, but they did the best that they could, and the decisions that they made navigate to who we are today.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my next question. You did all that, right? And 18 felonies. What ended up happening with that?
So I, stupid enough, while I was on bail for those and starting to fight my case I was still using, I ended up getting in trouble again in another county, trying to get a car legally, and so when I went back to court, I remember I was there with my ex, my mom, my dad, my attorneys, and then my attorney came outside before he went in and he goes, they're going to remand you. They think you're a danger to the public, you were on bail, you're facing a lot of charges, and you went and fucked up again, and I remember being like, I'm not going in then. I'm leaving. Like, I'm not going to be sick, And then something came over me, which I can only describe. It has to be God, because I faced my fear and I went in thinking I was going to be remanded, I was like, oh, well, like I can't keep running. Like it was, so I went in and then ended up like last minute. They're like, okay, well, we'll put her on house arrest instead. So I was like, thank God I didn't run, and that was like, this is like where all these things just started to like happen. And looking back, I see that it was like the universe and God just working in my life, like putting obstacles that were actually blessings in disguise. I was still on house arrest, still using, but so I was using IV for like 16 years and I had never OD'd, and I finally had that experience. And it was while I was on house arrest, and my ex was like leaving the house, and like if he had left like a second earlier, I would have been dead. Like it was really bad. He, had to give me CPR. He had to Narcan me twice, like called the paramedics, and that like scared the shit out of me. Like waking up from that, because I had never had it happen, and I thought like I had this concoction down, and I was invincible, and like. I'm like, damn it, that I could have not. My life could have ended on like that dirty trap house floor. Like that is where my life would have ended, and like my parents would have destroyed my parents. Like, so it scared me enough where I was like, okay, I need to get to detox. And then within like a few days, I got a staph infection from shooting up in my foot, and I had to go to the hospital. And I called my dad, and I was like, Dad, take me to the hospital. And he showed up before like I could change my mind, And I was like, well, I was tweaking out. Like, I need to do this first and this. I always had something to do first, And like, he's like, no, like, let's go. So he took me to the hospital, and they gave me IV antibiotics, and they detoxed me in the regular hospital while I was there. And then my mom let me move in with her and my ex, because he agreed to go to treatment, which was crazy. Like he got sober too. Which is not the most common thing for people,
really
but it worked for us at the time. We're no longer together, but he's still sober and he's doing well. So we moved in with my mom, and I was on house arrest for 19 months. I couldn't leave except for like doctor appointments. So I went and saw a lot of doctors, all different types of doctors. And then finally the courts like approved me to go to like outpatient like 3 times a week. So at least I could get some like, therapy. I had a really solid sponsorship family.
Good.
They would come to my house. They would bring like a women's meeting to me. Like they celebrated my first year of sobriety, like at my house, brought me a cake,
That's awesome.
like, it was really them who like carried me through those 19 months. Cause like, I didn't know what was happening, like we tried to get like mental health diversion. And then like my attorney was like, we'll get you probation. I'm like, are you sure for all of that with my history already? Like, I don't know. And then we ended up going to court one day, and like the DA was like 32 months prison time. If you don't take it now, the deal's off the table. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing that. And, so I signed for that, and, went back 2 months later to like turn myself in. And it was such a crazy experience because, The DA who was there every day, like he did not show up that day. It was someone else. And she didn't really know what was going on, but my attorney kept trying to fight. Can you give her at least credit for the day she was on house arrest, you know? And I guess there's like a fine line with how they were explaining it. They don't have to give it to me. But the judge had seen like how much I like had put like work into changing, and like I had a lot of people that were advocating for me, and like and he like fought on my behalf against the DA. It was insane. Because she was like, no, Your Honor, this is like trying to like say, you know, these will not count, or if they do, it won't be as much time as you think it would be. And he finally kind of just like looked at her, and she went, okay, I submit. And it was over. Like they gave me credit, which gave me overtime served. So I didn't go to prison that day. Like, and I was prepared. I had like typed out all this paperwork for my mom of what to do, this and that. I had like my really warm jacket on because I knew I was gonna be freezing. It like still makes me emotional because I can like hear my mom like sobbing in the background with like relief, you know. And turning around and seeing my dad, and he just like winked at me, and it was a great experience. And so I got taken off house arrest that day, and I didn't have to go to prison. So it was like my life like started that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a rebirth.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It was.
That's awesome.
And I like have not taken that for granted, you know. Like after that, I just like threw myself. I didn't really know what to do at first. I'm like, I've been on house arrest. Like I went to Starbucks first. That was like the first thing we did.
Let me get a macchiato.
We went to Starbucks. I was like, I need Starbucks. And then I just like, it was really like about diving in and like figuring out like what I want to do, like rediscovering who I was. Like, you know, I was still in this relationship with this person, and like we were kind of like figuring out like if that was the best thing for us anymore. And like so I just really prayed for like God to like show me like the way, you know. And like I ended up like opening up a women's sober living like a few months later, actually, with two people that are very dear to me. One of them is my sponsor now, and the other woman like I've known since high school. Like we used to use together. Yeah. And she's sober like over 10 years. Wow. So yeah, I my, you know, they say like stick with the winners. Like my sponsorship family, like they all have like a lot of time, you know. And I like trusted everything they said. I knew that they knew how to stay sober. Yeah. So I stayed close to them, and we opened up Namaste. It's all women sober living, and
so now you're here.
Yeah.
Giving back.
Yeah. And
working with the community.
Yeah, it's been amazing, you know, and like I got a few sponsees, and
dope.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love them.
So I'm gonna ask you a question.
Yeah.
And then we didn't mention this in the beginning.
Okay.
So now you've come full circle.
Yes.
Now you're the person with the handout.
Yeah.
Here you go. Let me help you, bring you to where I'm at. And there's nothing more greater than that to me, when people can turn their life completely around and still say, okay, I still have more to give. I'm not taking anymore. Now I'm giving. And getting that fulfillment from that is, to me, worth more than anything that anybody else could give me. So right now I'm going to give you an opportunity. And this is your camera. One of those is, I don't know, Jimmy, what's going on? Take as much time as you need. And you're just going to share some hope, some faith, and just give somebody some motivation. Somebody that just needs to hear that if Jessy can make it, why can't they?
Yeah. You know, like towards the end of my addiction, like I had abscesses on my neck from shooting up. Like I was septic in the hospital. Like I had nothing and no will to live. Like I didn't want to die because I was too chicken shit to die. I was too scared. But I just like, I was in that in between place where like I didn't want to live like that anymore. I just wanted a different life. And like it can be what's the word, like totally blanking, but it can be scary at first and very
intimidating.
Thank you. That was what I was looking for when you're first getting clean and sober, because you just see like the mess that you're in right now, and you're like, how am I going to dig myself out of this and like get all those things back and more, you know? But God has like a way of working that out. Like as long as you take that first step and you worry about like today and like doing the right thing and like getting back on track, like things will start to work out. Like it's insane how the universe, like doors will open. Like, you know how like when you're in your addiction, it's like everything that can go wrong goes wrong. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's like things in life obviously are still going to happen. People are going to pass away. Like, people get sick. Like, there's accidents. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but you're on like a path of like forward trajectory, and like it's just like not Murphy's Law at play 24/7. And I feel like the best way to describe it is like when I was living in my addiction, like it was like I'm like walking against the current in water, like, you know, and in a riptide, like, but now like in recovery and like connected to God and just trying to give back and do the right thing, like you get into like this flow, you know, you flow with like the universe, and you build your sense of community. Like, there's so many different modalities that you can incorporate into your recovery to give you like a fulfilled life. And like through like the amends process, like that to me was like my favorite step. You're able to like let go of so much guilt and shame. Like you can like look at your character defects. Like I'm a huge like 12-step person, like you know, but just finding like a higher power, finding a purpose. Like, to me, that was what I was missing many times before, because I would get sober and I was like a wandering lost soul. I didn't really know what to do with myself. And I'm still like, you know, figuring out like where I want to go, what I want to be, like, you know, like I know there's more things in store for me that I want to do. Like, I know that I want to continue working in the recovery field and helping others. I also know that there's that creative artistic side of me that needs to be fed and grown. So I want to work on that too. Like, there's just, your life is small when you're using, and when you get sober and clean, it expands. Like, and as they say, which is so corny, but it really truly becomes like a life beyond your wildest dreams. But you have to take action. You can't just like sit back and hope it's going to happen. Like, you have to do the next forward, like indicated step, you know?
Yeah.
So there is hope. Just take the first step.
Got to put in the work.
Yeah. Put in the work.
Awesome. So again, using my story, this is Jessy. We appreciate you coming out. So if you guys need help, we do offer every level of care. We have detox residential. We have outpatient partial hospitalization. We have outpatient telehealth. We have everything that we can do to help you. So all you have to do is reach out, slide into our DMs, hit the links, and just let us know. Also, if you want to be a guest or if you have some subject matter you want us to cover, also, again, just send us a message. So until next time, using my story, peace.